Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got something really fun for you. Over the weekend I played in the Boyce Baumgardner Memorial Doubles Championship out at Chase Disc Golf Course over in Cottonwood Falls. And it was a great time. It was a little chilly, around 30s I believe, and a little wind here and there. Not terribly bad though. On the card today we've got the Esquivels, Isaiah and Donovan partnered up. And I partnered up with Tako. Myself and Tako went out and we played this event. We were fortunate enough to play on the Young Guns card. And I figured, hey, let's film this round and bring you guys some coverage. Let's start out. Hole number 1 is 335 feet. You got OB down both sides. The right side really doesn't come into play. The biggest miss on this hole is typically hyzering out, and there's a ditch actually on the left side that runs all the way down hole 1, 2, and 3, and a lot of discs find their way to that ditch. Got Isaiah going out wide with probably a defender, if I had to guess. That's a fantastic shot. You just want to throw something a little beefy out there to the right side and get that fade back. Got Tako here. I know he is throwing a defender, and he turned it over a little bit of a headwind, I think. And as soon as you get that nose angle, it's just going to want to push. Judging from Tako's disc, I saw it turned up. I threw an Explorer, a Chameleon Explorer, on a nice hyzer flip, and was fortunate enough for it to go just dead straight. So ended up pretty close to the basket here. Got Donovan stepping up for Team Esquivel, knocking it down. Easy birdie for him. And we're going to take the birdie as well. Hole number 2 is a must birdie hole. 273 feet. It plays kind of like an island, but it's one of the biggest islands you've ever seen. The biggest mistake here is skipping down to the left side, down the ditch, into that ditch that I spoke about on hole number 1. Or a lot of times if you err on that left side and are skipping down in the ditch, you find yourself in the road OB. Got Isaiah just kind of trying to put one up there since his partner's pretty close. Looks like he caught that tree and dropped down. No worries, Donovan is pretty close. Got Tako here, not quite going wide enough. It's still early. We're still cold, so unfortunately that shot skips out of bounds. I'm throwing a Justice here. Usually I'll throw something like a Felon, but I just wanted to make sure we get it in bounds. I was happy with the release, but it looks like it came up a little short. Fortunately enough, I have Tako as my partner, and he just goes full jam session on this putt from about circle's edge. And the kids, as I call them, they make birdie as well. Good start for both groups here. Both went birdie to start. Moving into hole number 3. It says par 4 on U-disc, says par 3 on the T-sign. It's one of those kind of tweener type style of pars. 487, it is a bomb. You've got a road that kind of goes down the middle. It's kind of a park road that should not come into play. Most shots, if they err on this hole, they err left into the road out of bounds. But for the most part, it's a relatively easy 3 if you just want to throw a tee shot down the middle of the fairway and give yourself a look. Possibly a jump putt into to the green, but most players are probably looking for 3 on this hole. Got Tako going Raider flex on this hole. Gets some really good D out of it, giving me a green light to just throw it as far as I possibly can. Spoiler alert, I don't throw that far anymore. I'm going Ballista Pro here. Nice little headwind, kind of holds it over to the right there. I got a great angle on it, and it held. Hyzered out toward the end. I'm going to end up down on the top side, almost down in that ditch that I spoke about. But giving myself a look for that too. Got Isaiah up first, throwing a jump putt up there, just putting it nice and close, giving Donovan the green light to run this putt. He puts it up. Puts a really good bid on it, actually. Nice height, good speed. And for whatever reason, I missed Taco's putt here, but he came up just on the right side, so he was close enough for me to give this a go, which I did, and I got a little lift out of it, went directly over the top of the basket. I think that could have had the opportunity had I not get that little raise from the wind. Either way, excuse me, both parties are gonna card to 3 on this hole, which it says birdie, but we'll call it a party, I guess, because it's probably not quite a birdie. Hole number 4, 386 feet, blind shot. The real struggle on this hole is getting that disc to turn back to the left far enough. You see this branch that kind of hangs out over the fairway from the tee. That is kind of right in your direct line of sight. So the shot here is get it up as high as you possibly can on something that's going to absolutely fade at the end of the flight. Tako here is throwing his Sheriff, and you can tell there's a little bit of wind creeping around that corner, and it just stands it up the flat, and it pushes it straight. And I'm going Raider. I put a little too much turn on it probably, and it just kind of wanted to go straight. It didn't get that fade back to the left like I wanted, so we're going to have a pretty lengthy putt here for birdie. One thing you don't want to do on this hole is go too far, because there is a drop-off there you can see on the right side. That's about a 25-foot drop-off down to the creek that is out of bounds. So there's Tako giving it a good run. I put it up, didn't quite have the distance on it. Good line, just not quite the right height. Got the Team Esquivel here going for birdies. That was a great line there from Isaiah. Got Donovan up next. You can see he's got some low branches to tend with, and boom, off the front of the basket. Had that not hit those branches, I think that would have probably gone in. So both groups here are going to have to settle for pars. Still a pretty decent start. Getting a couple birdies coming off those first couple holes. Moving into hole 5. Moving into the woods is what we're doing here. Hole number 5 is probably my favorite hole on the course. 315 feet straight downhill through a cap over a creek. So key on this hole is throw it straight. The only thing you don't want to miss on is hitting one of these first trees or not getting the distance on it and coming up short into the creek or hyzering out. If you get across the creek, you're going to have yourself a look at birdie. Got Isaiah here. You can tell he's going off there to the right side just a little bit. Got Tako up next. And here's that trouble I was talking about. Pulled it right, hit first available, kicked actually backwards down into the ditch creek area, and yeah, there it is. There it is. Unfortunately out of bounds for Team McTako. So I'm throwing an EMAC Truth. Got it up to the right side. Skipping up there. Going to have a nice look for birdie. Got Donovan up here from about 34 feet or so. Probably just outside the circle. Maybe just at circle's edge. Either way, you would expect one of these two young guns to jam this putt. Unfortunately, both of them came up just a little on that left side. Got Tako lining up our birdie putt. And Tako just throwing putts in left and right on these first 5 holes. Love to see it. So Team McTako take an early lead over Team Esquivel. Going into hole 6, this tee sign says 420 par 4. This is from the long tee, actually. That's not there anymore.
Hole 6. Best hole sponsor in the game.
Yeah, I got good old Ralphie on this tee sign. This is a 300-foot par 3 now, and the shot on this hole is either a fairway driver or a mid-range if you've got the power to throw low and hard on a frozen rope and get that skip. There's a ditch, the kind of creek that runs through here, and that shot right there from Tako is great. Gives me the green light. That's all you really want, is something low and hard, and give yourself a look for the birdie. I went Explorer here, and I had a little bit more height on it than Tako did, so I was able to get a little bit closer to that green. It's still a tricky putt from there. It's still uphill. Got Isaiah going a little high, a little left, but it snuck through everything, so they're going to have themselves a look as well. Got Donovan throwing another great shot. Those are 4 pretty good shots. All 4 of those drives actually have a look at birdie. Got Isaiah up first. Great putt there from Isaiah. Got Tako up next. Tako is just doing work on the putting green today. You love to see it. Hole number 7 is also a different tee sign than what is currently there. This hole plays around 300 feet. It shoots out of a gap, and the basket sets up on a little mound. You can see that rock right there, or Taco's drive coming in perfectly. Probably hit the rock right underneath the basket. Perfect shot there from Tako. I'm throwing an Explorer, and I kind of flattened it out a little bit too much. I knew Tako was parked, so I wanted to put a little bit more height on it and try to put it in. Unfortunately, I went a little long. Got Isaiah up next. I didn't catch the end of that flight, but he went a little long as well. Donovan throwing the Felon, coming in, skipping up to the bottom of their green. That's a great shot. Looks like they ended up taking Isaiah's drive, which was just a little bit past the basket. Couple birdies. Hole number 8 is the craziest hole you'll ever see. 372 feet par 4, and it is a true par 4. Typically, when you're playing doubles, you have one player get a little more aggressive and the other player kind of laying up a little bit. During a singles round, really all you want to do is get around this initial corner like we're trying to do here. I pulled mine a little bit right, but I got a fortunate kick down to the left side, so we should be in the middle of the fairway. The next shot from there is straight uphill and up on 2 different tiers. So the biggest thing you can do on this hole, the biggest mistake you can make on this hole is something like what Isaiah's doing here. Put a little too much angle on his drive, and it's going to skip off to the left side and have himself a tricky look. So you can see here's where my drive ended up. We got Tako throwing first. He pulled it a little bit left, but was very fortunate to sneak through that big cedar tree up on top, giving us a basically drop-in birdie. I decided I might as well give it a little bit of a run since I knew Tako was already up there. Put a good line on it, just a little bit low, hit the side of that hill and kind of trickled down. And here's the shot that happens more likely than not on this hole, is crashing the side of that hill there. And it makes for a very, very tricky putt from down there. Isaiah giving it a little bit more height, and what a fantastic shot there. He's going to have himself a drop-in birdie as well. Couple birdies there on hole number 8. Going into hole 9 is another short hole, probably shorter than hole 2 actually, and is another must-get birdie. This is a tricky hole, though. You don't want to be long of this pin because it's kind of the back side of the ditch is straight down to the water. So that shot right there that Tako did, where you want to throw it low, throw a putter pretty flat, low, and get it to skip up to the basket as opposed to flying past the basket. Because any shot that goes long on here, there is a really, really good chance you're going out of bounds.
Yeah, nice shot, Donovan.
Donovan puts it up there really close. Got Isaiah up next. Such a great line here, coming in flat, skipping up to the right side. Ooh, that was actually really close to skipping up and in. Here's a good angle you can tell from the creek behind the basket. Tako makes good. And so does Team Esquivel. Halfway through, looks like we've got the kids by a stroke. Anything can happen on this back nine, though. Hole number 10, 354. It's another tricky hole. Plays uphill and sets between two massive oak trees. There is OB on the left side. Most shots, all you really want to do is try to get up to that big mature tree up on the left side and give yourself a look for a birdie. Tako decided to try the roller out here. Worked out pretty well. We are up there at least. We have a lengthy putt. And I pulled mine, turned it over a little too much coming in early, and it actually kicked down to the right. We're going to have a kind of an open look, but it's a very long one at that. Got Donovan up first for Team Esquivel, turning something over a little bit, flexing back. But this is a great shot. He hits that big, mature tree that I was speaking of. So they're going to have themselves a look. It looks like he may have rolled back a little bit, but... And this is the only mistake you can really make on this hole. Isaiah gave it a little too much stability, and it did skip up out of bounds on the park road. Here's the shot that Tako and I are left with for our birdies. Kind of have that little branch hanging down in our way. But walking away with a par on this hole is not the worst thing in the world. Got Donovan up first. Almost putting it in, just a little bit left. These guys are probably right around 40 feet. Ooh, I thought that one was good. As soon as it left his hand, that was a fantastic run there from Isaiah. Just a little on the left side, like his cousin, Donovan. Donovan makes good. Couple pars. And then moving on to hole number 11. Hole 11 is a 329-foot downhill, pretty easy shot, I'd say. You just want to kind of throw something out to the right side that's stable and get it to fade at the end of the flight, much like Tako's doing here with his defender. A lot of skip down there, so the only thing on this hole is hitting something early or maybe not getting the distance on the disc, but for the most part, it's a relatively easy hole. I'm throwing a Raider, and there's a little bit of a headwind, and I definitely turned it and just wanted to go dead straight, trying to get it to go left. Ended up on the side of the hill up there. Isaiah's throwing an SE Criminal throwback. Such a great disc, nice and overstable. Comes in just a little short, gets a nice skip. They'll have a nice look at birdie. And Donovan decides to try to join me over there on the right side. Something I don't recommend. Isaiah lining up their birdie putt. He makes good.
Good putt.
And as will Tako. Hole number 12. What can I say about hole number 12? This is the most hated hole on this disc golf course. 305 feet, par 3, plays like a par 4. You have OB all down the left side, a mound that runs probably 75% of the hole, and it is tight. The shot on this hole, in my mind, is either a putter shot that just kind of lands up by the gap, or you can do what I do here and throw a decently overstable fairway driver on a forced overline and get it to flex back. It is my favorite shot on this hole, and I was very successful with it. This is an Explorer, just turned it over, hit the gap perfect, scooted out there, and as you will see here in a little bit, it is parked. Got Isaiah up here. He clipped one of those trees. That's one thing you can't do on this hole is clip a tree and kick down to the left. That is unfortunately out of bounds. So you've got Donovan up next playing the smart play here by throwing his judge and just going nice and straight. I mean, it faded or it held over a little bit more than he probably wanted, but he's far enough down there that between the two of them, they should be able to get up and down. It is a tough hole. If you walked away from this hole with a 3 every time you played it, you would be pretty happy.
Get out.
That was Isaiah throwing a nice forehand roller out to save their par. And right there is where my drive ended up, parked. Very, very fortunate that I got out of that gap. And Donovan makes do for the par. Gives Tako and I a 2-shot lead over this card. Going into hole number 13. Mando to the right side, 364 feet. The shot on this is one of 2 ways. You can either go really high and try to crash through the trees as Taco's going to do, or you can play the low skip hyzer. I prefer the low skip hyzer because the ground gets so much action. When you go up high, you have tendencies to kind of fade back and potentially hit that road out of bounds. This is the angle I prefer on this. That was a little higher than I wanted, and I actually ended up squaring the large tree. But had I missed that tree, I would have skipped up there parked. Got Isaiah going a little wide, actually. Kind of clipped some of these branches. He was fortunate enough to get through them. But that's going to leave them a very, very lengthy approach / putt. Donovan turns his over a little too much, clips the trees. He does kick out, but they are just going to pick that one up and give Isaiah's shot here a chance. A little unfortunate that he clipped those trees coming around. If he would have missed, I think he would have got a little bit of a skip and given themselves a better look for their birdie putt. So unfortunately, they're going to have to settle for a par here. And then I got mine. This is the tree that I pretty much squared up. Had I missed it, I think I would have skipped a little bit closer and been parked. Fortunate for me, I have Tako on my card, who is just jamming putts left and right or squeezing them in on that right side, getting lucky, and we'll take it. We'll take that all day.
So glad you made that.
Picking up another stroke here on Team Esquivel. Hole number 14 is the signature hole out here on the course. 300 feet to the elevated basket. Elevated basket, I guess you could say. This hole is so much fun to play. Unless there's a lot of wind, and you don't want to play this hole with a lot of wind. Tako got this a little too high. He's going to fade down to the left. That is Parville right there. You really want to make sure that you're as close to those rocks as you could possibly get. If you're not within a couple feet of those rocks, you probably don't want to run your putt. Nothing wrong with laying up this hole, though. Just trying to play for that par. Got Donovan there coming in a little bit early. That is in that spot that's like, do I run it or don't I run it? And I would say 90% of the time when I step up to it, I'm like, or stepping up to it, I'm like, I'm not going to run this. And then I get there and I'm like, yeah, let's go ahead and run this. It's usually a mistake. But so got Donovan here. He is looking at nothing but air behind this basket. Fortunately, he banks off the basket, and or unfortunately, he finds himself looking at almost the same putt that they have here. So Isaiah just a little bit low, but he is fortunate enough to have it stay up there on top so they can drop in their par. We have about the same look from the other side. And once again, Tako just draining putts left and right. I haven't even had to putt yet. Taco's 100% inside the circle. Just absolutely killing it. Love to see it. So we pick up another one on the kids going into hole 15. Plays like this is a kind of a weird one par-wise. It plays like a 3.5 or so, I believe on the UDisc app. It says it's a par 4. We play it as a par 3 if we're playing by T signs. And Tako, I think we're all 4 going to go for this green. Tako puts a pretty good mash on that defender. It flattens out nice and gets a nice skip up there towards the basket. He has himself about a 25-foot look for our birdie. I'm throwing the Ballista Pro once again. I put a little too much hyzer on it so I didn't get that fade to the right, that turn that I really needed. It did fade at the end and got a nice skip. Unfortunately, that skipped me out of bounds. We have Isaiah up next, and his looks great as well. He kind of had it on the same line I did and got a big skip OB as well. We have Donovan here, who tried to rip on a drive and had hurt his left hammy before the round, and it had been bothering him, but the cold weather probably didn't make it much easier to play, and he's hurting. He's hurting right now. And Isaiah coming up just inches low, saving their par. And Donovan here goes jam session. You could tell he's holding that leg there, so you know he's feeling some pain. Got Tako here with the solo birdie for our card. That's a fantastic birdie. That is one that you don't get very often. Believe it's going to say eagle on this UDisc app, but it's close. It's a 3.5. Hole 16 says 3, but I think this one plays as a 4. 470 OB all down the right side, and during GBO, DD Open, those type of events, we play the left side OB as well. All you really want to do is have your shot land somewhere in the middle. If you don't have the distance, somewhere in the middle, to have yourself a look at that approach into this green. I thought I put a pretty good move on this. Turns out I was just about 5 or 6 feet short, as you'll tell when we get up there. So Isaiah's up first here, and right before we teed off, Donovan didn't feel like he could throw his tee shot. So since this is a non-sanctioned memorial fun event, we decided let's just let Isaiah throw 2 drives. So we're letting Isaiah throw 2 drives, and then Donovan is actually going to be the putter. So for the last 3 holes, we switched it up a little bit. Isaiah's going to be driving, Donovan's going to be putting. As you can see, this is what I was referring to, about 5 to 10 feet, a little too short. Had I been out a little bit more, we would have had a more open look at this green. Kind of deciding what I want to do, if I want to do a long hyzer putt or a forehand putter throw, which we know how good I am at those. And I probably should have just tried to throw a little hyzer putt because that was awful. Now, Donovan here looking to pick up a birdie and a stroke on us. Just a little bit short. Can he adjust and jam it? He adjusted, just not quite enough. Just still a little bit too low there. Tako dropping in R3. Kids are going to drop in their 3 as well. Move on to hole 17. Hole 17 is a 367 dead straight. There's out of bounds on the left side. There's a hill that plays from right to left on here, so anything high will typically skip out of bounds. Oh yeah, and there's a barn on the right side.
That was looking so good.
You couldn't hit the broadside of a... Oh, wait.
Just having fun with Tako right there. I'm throwing that same Chameleon Explorer that I threw on hole number 1. Nice hyzer flip. You see it bouncing up in that wind a little bit, getting some nice flight out of it. Going to be a little bit long actually, but a look, I'll take it. Be happy with that anytime I play this hole. Isaiah going low and hard. I think that's that Criminal again. That one should be pretty good, about pin high. Probably skipped up there pin high. And Isaiah's second shot. This one has a little bit more height, and you can see that movement down to the left. Probably got to skip out of bounds. Got Donovan here for Team Esquivel putting for their birdie. Just a little on the left side. See if he can adjust. I know that back leg is hurting him, though. It is so hard, even to putt, when you have that kind of discomfort. And it just comes up a little bit high. Tako putting from about 25 feet. And just a little bit low. That is the first putt Tako has missed today from inside circle 1. And this is a tester putt for me since I have not been putting this whole day because Taco's been jamming. But fortunately, I was able to make the birdie, make that putt there. Okay, going into hole 18, Taco and I are playing some really good golf here. 268 feet uphill, plays about like 300 feet. The only miss on this hole is if you go OB long in the road, or if you go long in general. This basket sits mounted on a big piece of limestone, so if you do go long, you may not have a comeback putt. It's Taco pulling it there to the left a little bit. I'm pulling out my B Dynamic EMAC Truth. Nice hyzer flip. Coming in nicely. That actually ended up directly underneath the basket. Got Isaiah up next, throwing his 2 shots. He's throwing a couple felons here. I believe that's what he was throwing. This one is good. About 15, 20 feet to the right. And this one I thought was going to hit the limestone. It came in just a little bit short.
Let me just see, just in case.
So I have Donovan up first. Makes good. Tried to bounce back to him, but makes good. And then, of course, the drop in. Pretty happy with that. Very happy with that round, actually. Taco and I played very well. I drove the disc well. He putted very well. We ended up shooting a 41. It says 17 down, but I believe it's closer to a 15 down. Either way, phenomenal day. It was a great time playing with the Esquivels. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.